Will your conversion rate go through the roof with the new Shopify one-page checkout, or will it perform worse? Stick around for some interesting insights. We know Shopify is very strict with their checkout process, and for good reason. While we all love customization, let's face it, we are only human and more access might mean more errors. We'll have to trust them to handle the sensitive information, and we'll have to live with the fact that 4.5 million other stores have a very similar looking checkout as ours. After all, that can be a good thing too. Your store uses the same checkout as some of the largest retailers in the world. As you may know, recently the Shopify checkout received a makeover, and more Shopify stores automatically had their checkout transformed from the step process we got accustomed to into a one-page checkout. So far, only Shopify Plus stores that were using checkout.liquid are qualified to revert to the step checkout if they want to. For non-Plus Shopify accounts, there is no official way to go back after the switch. The documentation says that you should contact support and ask to revert if you want that, but that there is no guarantee that they will accept your request. But why would you want to switch back, you may ask? Well, the step checkout process was not all bad. Humans are creatures of habit, and this step checkout was the standard for a long time. So it seems to me that it would have been appropriate to have the option to ease your customers into the new one-page setup. It would have been even better to have the option to A/B test the two and decide for yourself which checkout works better for your situation. That is not the case, and anyway, all the data points to the fact that a one-page checkout should perform better than a multi-step one, so we would again have to trust Shopify's decision. The new checkout will automatically inherit the look and the customization we had previously and will track the same data as before. The script editor app scripts will continue to work on it, at least for now, and we get some more customizable wording. It looks generally better with a slight improved UI, and it feels a bit lighter out of the box, but it won't blow you away in terms of speed if you run it through a Google speed test. If you get a reading at all, because most of the time you get an error. But we can say it's going to be slightly faster, even though the scripts for all the forms are now loaded at the same time on one page. This is if you're not using any apps, of course. Yep, thanks to the checkout extensibility, now we will have to monitor the checkout page for speed when adding new apps. We know apps have their way of creating problems by introducing large scripts that are not cached well, or by loading up images that are much too large for the screen they are being displayed on, and so on. I'm not sure how we will be able to test and potentially remove the apps that are affecting the performance of our checkout due to Google not being able to give us a clear reading. I guess we'll default again to trusting Shopify standards and hoping that they will screen for such occurrences. There aren't many studies out there comparing the usage of a one-page checkout with a multi-step one. Companies will not share their data to preserve their competitive advantage, of course, but the information that is out there seems to be pointing to the fact that fewer steps in the checkout process are better. An interesting observation was made during a scientific study on this subject, and that was that users felt that they could go on and order their product in between other tasks during the day when a one-page checkout was offered, rather than waiting for a part of the day when they would have more free time to go on and engage with a multi-step checkout. But is there any downside to the Shopify's one-page checkout process? I mean, other than the apps that might slow it down? Until now, there were a couple of issues reported regarding the autofill option, but I'm sure Shopify will address this if they didn't do that already. Editing or deleting addresses was an issue for some of the users, but again, a new way of doing things will uncover some bugs in the beginning, but nothing that Shopify can't handle. One concerning issue I found is that you won't be able to collect information from abandoned carts as you did before. At the moment, if the user fills in all its data and just abandons the cart, you won't get them registered inside the abandoned carts area. You will get abandoned cart info just from users who submitted the form and got payment issues or other errors. There are also some theoretical issues that we might face with the new checkout. For example, when a user gets multiple errors at once. When you get separate forms for shipping, billing, or payment info and you get one error per form, you are more inclined to fix it and go to the next step. But if the user fills everything up and they get 4 or 5 errors at once, it might be too much for them and they might get discouraged. Also, in the case of a one-page checkout, you won't be able to pre-fill some of the fields with the information from the previous step, which means that the user will have to enter more info manually. Also, because of its long format, it can look like more commitment for some users, where adding the info step by step not only focuses them on the topic at hand, but also may appear as less work up front. I guess that some of these issues on the new one-page checkout might be intentionally allowed on it to encourage developers to create apps that will fill in the gaps. And I would have no issues with that if the performance and speed were not affected by them. Based on market research, it looks like customers don't mind the step checkout process if it doesn't get too extensive. There is information to support the fact that multi-step checkout processes would perform well with high involvement products, and one-page checkout perform well with low involvement products. I don't know about you, but I would prefer if Shopify would give us the option to choose depending on our case. But for now, we will have to again trust their decision and hope it was a good one. What is your experience with the new Shopify one-page checkout? Leave me a comment below, and if you like videos like this about the Shopify ecosystem, do like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.